That's big. But I'm so pleased at this point in time. We're being joined by Kim McHouston and Fritzy Presley. And they live down on the Gulf. And they've been, I guess for the last year and a half, almost 2 years now, battling this aftermath of the Deepwater Horizon accident that took place in April of 2009. And so here they are fighting. And really, when the cameras went away, the story went away. But the story's still ongoing. And so we're here today for the next couple of hours and we'll do this monthly, to kind of tell the story and make people aware of what's going on. And I want to say hello to Fritzy and to Kim. Ladies, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Hi there, Mike. Thanks for having us.
It's my pleasure. Kim, what part of the Gulf do you live in?
I'm in Alabama. I'm in Gulf Shores, Alabama.
Okay. Fritzy, what part of the Gulf are you in?
I'm in Long Beach, Mississippi.
Okay.
And about midway between Mobile and New Orleans.
Okay. So about halfway then. Okay. All right. So, ladies, whoever wants to start first, go ahead. Kind of tell your story about it's obviously you got involved in this because a rig turned over and blew up. But kind of how all this, how you've been drawn into this and how you're still drawn into it and having to deal with this on a daily basis.
You want to go first?
Yeah, I guess I can. We call ourselves accidental activists because none of us saw ourselves being where we are today a year and a half ago. I'm an avid sailor. Love the beach, love seafood, lived off of it. I'm a crab hound. I love blue crabs. And I was born and raised here, as were my parents and their parents. And I raised my children here. And when the rig blew, I started going down to the beach. And it was more or less a farewell because we knew it was an inevitable. So I would go down there and I would come back and get on my Facebook and I would post what I had observed in my walks and some, reflect on my feelings and such. And I did that when the oil hit, and I was there the day it actually started showing up on our shores. And I was horrified. It was hideous. It was ugly. There was death. There was a silence. The Gulf teems with birds and fish and, wildlife of all kinds, little turtles popping up and dolphins swimming by, and it was dead. There wasn't a sound. There wasn't a sight. And that went on for quite some time. Well, I went through the first, 6 weeks after it hit the shore and would come back and would write it all down on my Facebook and share it with my friends. And I found other people who were equally as affected by it as me. So I kind of hooked up with some of them. Well, after about 6 weeks of doing this, I started getting short of breath and feeling tired, and I dragged myself up to go down there until I absolutely couldn't anymore. Now, not being aware at all at that particular time of the health impacts that it was having, I thought it was just me, old age, whatever. I just can't do this like I used to. But in fact, I was affected by it, not realizing when you smell it that you are also breathing it.
Sure.
My respiratory system just almost went into arrest, and I was treated for pneumonia, bronchitis, everything, every malady, every conventional malady that a doctor could come up with, but there was never any association with the oil. So when I started figuring it out, when other people were having the same symptoms, that were doing basically the same things that I was doing, I made the association when we got together and we started talking, shared our stories, and thought, oh no, what are they doing to us? My daughter is a beach walker. She loves to go down to the beach. My daughter walked the beach after they said, we were home free, everything was okay, eat the seafood, come on down, let's have a great time. My daughter hit the beach. She had a miscarriage in October.
Oh, my.
The October following the spill. and broke out in a terrible, terrible rash, just horrible, just craters, and couldn't figure it out. The doctors, of course, not make it. None of the doctors, I'll tell you this, none of the doctors here make any association with any medical maladies with the oil spill. None of them do, which I found to be quite unusual. When my daughter...
Let me stop you there, Francie. Are they afraid?
Do what?
Are these doctors afraid to try to attribute it to that, or
I don't know. I don't know that it's fear. You got to understand the economy here.
Right.
We're a tourist-based economy.
Right.
And anything that may be statistically gathered that might shed a negative light on the area, I think they just sort of, if they can steer away from it, they will steer away from it. And I think that that they just, there was a lot of denial too. See, our area is very unique. We're still in the process of rebuilding from Camille. And the mindset here is different from any mindset in America.
No, you didn't say Katrina. You said Camille.
Oh, I meant Katrina.
No. I was going to say, wow.
Katrina.
We went through Camille too. We went through Camille too. But golly, well, I lost everything then, and I lost everything again. But anyway, my point is everybody's rebuilding, and we're all in a very upbeat, positive mindset. And when this hit, nobody could get their heads around it. You know, so it's easy to listen to a Republican governor who has aspirations of running for president at the time, tell everyone that it's not a problem, it's nothing. The moose that's washing up on the beach is not unlike the kind you can eat. The things that he said just grated on my nerves. I couldn't believe it was coming out of his mouth. This man was a hero after the hurricane. You know, pulling in all kinds of assistance for the people and making sure that we were all, he was a hero. And then this comes along, and it was a whole different, he took a whole different approach to it.
All right, well, let me stop you there because we have to take a break here.
Okay.
And, so we'll take a quick time out. This story's hard already. I mean, I'm just, the fact you lost a grandchild because of this, when they said it was safe to go in the water. That's just enough to light anybody on fire and get them angry, especially me. I'm a grandfather, and I just, talk about making me mad. All right, we got a break here. Back in a minute with more. Stay with us. Matter of fact, call some friends during the break and get them. Here, I'm eating a nice, big, tasty shrimp. I got it from Maine. Didn't get it from here, but it's a nice, tasty one. We call it Gulf Coast shrimp. And to sit and you have the audacity to, on television, to the American people, come on down. The water's fine. You get things moving again, and then what the health and risk that they put people under, the economic risk that you guys are still under is absolutely incredible. We've got Fritzie Presley with us and Kim McHouston with us, and Fritzie's been telling her story. She's lives in Mississippi, about midway in between New Orleans and what would you say the other town?
In Mobile.
In Mobile. Okay, so she's halfway in between there. And she lost a grandchild, never born, stillborn, miscarriage, to the effects of this oil. Daughter's sick, she's sick, and Fritzie pick it up from there.
Okay. Well, we couldn't get any doctors to make any association. We got groups together. We do have a means to be tested, so everybody was going through a doctor in Louisiana, a doctor in Florida, and I believe there was a doctor or two in Alabama that were ordering something called the Volatile Organic Compounds Test, the VOC test. The civilian population, just regular folk, who were having these tests done, were testing in the highest 95th percentile of the fingerprint for the Macondo well.
Oh, wow.
That's all the zines, all the carcinogenic zines that you can be tested for, and these folks were off the charts, myself included, my daughter particularly. Now, when they said you could eat the seafood again, there were a lot of people that just dove in because it's a staple here.
Right.
Like folks in the Midwest with meat and potatoes, we are just, 3 or 4 times a week, which when they said that the seafood was safe, they based it, They played with the numbers.
Sure.
First thing they did was they raised the level of toxicity, acceptable toxicity in the seafood. And then what we did not know at the time and until just recently, several months ago, is that they based their safety findings on the consumption of 4 or 5 shrimp a week.
Wow.
They were telling people the food is safe, but they weren't telling them if all you eat are 4 or 5 shrimp a week. So it's been very
business
deceptive.
as usual.
Yeah.
You know, when this happened, I knew in my soul that this was much, much worse than they were leading us on. I just, in a way, I went into a mourning for what had happened, and when I realized just how it was no accident, and all the rest of the ridiculousness, you know, that really spurred me as well to promote this on United We Strike. And I'm glad that dog that you have behind you agrees with me, because it's
I have 3 of them, and I'm very sorry that.
No, I heard him. Every one of them said, "I hate correction." I heard him clearly.
Yeah, you better believe it.
Well, you know, I am from Catalina, actually. We moved there when I was 12 years old. I graduated. The ocean over there at that time, back in the early 60s, it was just pristine. And it was beautiful, and it was quiet, and I have always loved the ocean. And then I entertained on cruise ships for 5 years and sailed all over the world, and I have a great love for the ocean. And the fact that we are just ignoring and allowing these atrocities to continue is unconscionable. So thank you, ladies, and all the listeners know that once a month, at least for the rest of this year, we will be bringing you more updates and keeping you informed as to what is really happening, because the oil is still leaking.
Oh yeah, we to this very day they're still spraying the Corexit, and there are sheens out on the Gulf right over the Macondo site, and we can't get any straight answers out of anybody. Personally, I've questioned the Coast Guard face to face, and when I ask them point blank at a public meeting, what's the contingency plan for the oil leaking out of the Macondo site right now, they looked at me like deer in headlights. You know, like, how did you know that? And the response I got was that they're not dealing with that. That was on a federal level.
Well, aren't they the federal? Isn't that federal level Coast Guard?
Well, yeah. I mean, this was our local sector.
They're not the decision makers. Maybe.
Yeah.
They're not calling the shots.
That was with our local sector command that controls the Mobile area, Mississippi, and the Panhandle of Florida.
You know, this marriage between the Coast Guard and BP, even from the jump, just made me want to throw up.
Yeah, it did seem a little too chummy, didn't it?
Oh God, whatever. Now, they told us, what was it, 3 weeks into it, the Coast Guard went on television and they showed pristine boom with slices in it, and they said that the boom had been vandalized, and they made a law somehow punishable up to a year in jail, $5,000 fine if anybody went anywhere near the oil, the workers, the this, the that, the anything, that they could be arrested. 3 weeks into it, they did that. That was to keep the press at bay. That was to keep the curiosity seekers. That was to keep the whistleblowers at a safe distance from what they were actually doing. In Long Beach, and we have this beautiful, just sugar white beach that runs down our coast. They started trucking in sand. They've trucked in so much sand that instead of stepping up onto a pier, you step down onto it. That's how much they put on. It's just, and that just so clearly exemplifies the cover-up. You know, it's been a massive cover-up. We have an island due south of me, about 7 miles, Cat Island. BP purchased half the island. So whatever it was that they were doing from our harbors here, and people were watching, now they can safely do their barging things out to the island, and they're going from the island out just to keep it far enough out of the public eye to be talked about. They have created an incredible ability to deny. It's plausible deniability. They can say, well, if you can't definitively, absolutely, unequivocally prove that we are doing this, then we aren't. And the commercials make me sick to my stomach. However, Kim got in on one of those, didn't you, Kim?
Oh, I sure did. Back in October, on October 15th, we have the National Shrimp Festival that is 40 years old. It goes on at Gulf Shores every October 15th. And so me and my friend and president of the Alabama Oil Spill Aftermath Coalition, Michelle Walker, we decided to go to City Council and get a permit to protest at the National Shrimp Festival. So we were denied our permit twice, and I finally got a lawyer up in Birmingham. And after I got a lawyer, the City Council agreed to give us our permit.
May I ask, Cookie, 1 second. Let's just flesh this out.
Well, hold on. We're going to take a break, though. So stay right there. We'll flesh it out and get on it more when we come back. In just a second, we've got Kim McHouston with us, Fritzy Presley, Karen Quinn Tostado, Mike Chambers. It's the Mike Chambers radio program. Along with the United We Strike Marathon, everybody stay there. More to come. Is a fantastically interesting story. A sad story. A story that talks about government cover-up and business cover-up, all in the name of profits and votes. Sticker in the Gulf. Things that nobody knows about, because this is just not being reported on. It it would take like a month before anybody showed up down there to document anything. Obama even denied it was happening for like, what was it, 2 months? I think he was doing his Final Four picks. He was busy. But it was like all of a sudden there was an interest in it. They show up down to the Gulf. The news crews show up with their lights. So we're not leaving until this is taken care of. The well gets plugged, and okay, well, we're out of here. Great. New story. And then you guys are left to hold in the bag.
Yeah, that's about it.
That's what they did in Alaska too.
Okay, so and then you yeah, exactly. And then you're going to go down to Gulf Shores, Kim, for the shrimp festival. You try to get a permit to protest. They deny your permit, so you have to go get a lawyer, and you can continue the story from there.
Okay, so we went before City Council 2 times.
Right.
And they kept denying because, of course, they did not want us saying anything bad about the seafood or having any kind of signs about the health effects or anything else. So we went and got the president of the National Lawyers Guild up in Birmingham, David Gespis, and we got him to get in touch with the Gulf Shores City Attorney. Within 24 hours, we were in a meeting with the mayor and the chief of police and had our permit. And so we went out on the beach and we protested, anti-BP protest, at the National Shrimp Festival. And we noticed that there was a camera crew on the roof of the Hangout, which is the great big restaurant right on the beach. They have the music festival there every year. It's quite a popular place, and it's pretty well known all over the country. And these guys are up there filming. So we decided, we thought they were news crews. So we had our signs, and we're, yelling and screaming and holding up our signs, and they knew exactly who we were. Well, then the next thing I know, on December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas, this new BP advertisement pops up with Iris Cross telling the whole world how they're committed to the Gulf Coast and saying all these wonderful things about BP. And the camera in the commercial pans over the shrimp festival and the beach, and there we are. And they tried to portray us as tourists. Well, I caught wind of this, and it's about 47 seconds into the commercial. I caught wind of this, and I happened to comment on adage.com about this. And I said, if you look 47 seconds into this commercial, you're going to see anti-BP protesters. And I said, that was us. And I said, their ad campaign is as good as their safety record. And it went on. Somehow it caught fire. Next thing I know, last weekend we were on time.com about this ad. And so all I can say is that for a $100 million campaign ad, pro-BP ad, they have anti-BP protesters in their pro-BP ad.
Man,
that's hysterical.
It's great that you're using their money against them, but the very fact that you had to actually go and get a permit, can you tell us how much did they charge you for these permits that they denied you and then you had to get a lawyer?
They didn't charge us anything. Because basically the way Mr. Gespus handled it, it was our First Amendment right to be there.
Yes.
And in our application that we had to submit to City Council, we understood we could not block right away or, hang out on the sidewalk and block, obstruct or anything like that. All we wanted to do was to be close to the Shrimp Festival because part of our protest and our direct action, we had flyers to educate the public, okay, of the information that no one gets down here, okay? And so we needed to be close to all the activity. And they didn't want us near the activity, of course, because they don't want this information out there. And so, we just once we got the lawyer, it was no problem. But do I feel it's right? Absolutely not. But we have the good old boys club working down here, okay? And it's politics and greed and money as usual. In the local levels of government, all the way up to, your governor's office, everything else. So it didn't surprise me, but, that's what we had to do.
America is a free speech zone. The entire country is a free speech zone.
Well, I'll make it better than that. You're a free speech zone. Wherever you're at, you're a free speech zone.
Right.
It's not behind the orange fence. So that you're hidden. We're going to take you down there 3 miles away so you can say anything you want, holler, scream as loud as you want. Nobody's going to hear you. No, where you're at, you're a free speech zone. Right. And they do everything they can to try to convince you otherwise. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, we've got this ordinance. Screw your ordinance. There's a thing called the Constitution, honey. First Amendment. Read it. Yeah. And
right.
They're trying to choke the life out of the First Amendment.
Well, certainly they do. Yeah,
well, and out of the rest of us, we're under legal economic conquest. And if you really think about it, our buddy Charles Irwin did some research. And the year after the war ended and we were in debt to King George, he sent over 100 legal advisors to help us with our legal system, taking us from common law where you have a victim, putting us into statutes and all the rest of this BS that we're putting up with now that has no place, but we have been hypnotized and convinced into believing it, and it's time to break free and open our minds and hearts now.
Absolutely.
But you look at the commercials. I flipped channels.
Right.
And all of the local channels, almost at every break, all the local channels had at least one BP commercial per television show. Now they've spent $1 bazillion on all of these ads. If they spent a fraction of that money helping the people, restoring the Gulf, doing the things that needed to be done, they would have fixed the problem. There would be nothing to lie about.
Right.
Exactly.
If they had only done it right. They had no intention of doing it right.
Well, if they hadn't planned to mess it up in the first place, for the rest of the plans that they're doing, there is no way I believe, and this could just be my opinion, and actually it is since I'm saying it, I do not believe this was accidental for 1 second.
Well, I think it was. I think it was negligence. I think accidents are preventable. I think the actual blowing of the rig may have been just greed. That ever constant reason. But I think afterward, the top kill, for instance, there's talk that the top kill put so much pressure on the well, and there are two Macondo wells, by the way. There is an A and a B.
Yep.
That the one that they were focusing on, that they were letting the public see, was the one they were trying to stop. What they did in the top kill was they fractured the seafloor.
Well,
this is just speculation.
That and a lot of the mini sub footage that we were watching would show a set of the subs at one well, and then you'd sit and look at the latitude and longitude numbers that they were using. It would show the other subs at the other well. They were at both wells at the same time, and making it look as if they were working on both wells on one single well, and when they were back and forth.
Right.
Why didn't they just fix the darn thing at the beginning, unless they can't?
Well,
and now, because we've got so much still leaking out there that they're still going out there and spraying, there is an airport in Bay St. Louis, and they have the C-130s parked there, or a C-130 parked there, and they've got those little temporary garage things with the canvas covers, and they have trucks with Nalco.
Back here, hour number 4, the fastest 4 hours in radio, the Mike Chambers radio program on Freaky Friday, Friday the 13th, 2012 of January 13th, 2012. Karen Quinn Tostado with us here, part of the United We Strike marathon underway right now, and we have I would not want to get these women pissed. Okay, I was listening to them during the break. These women got this stuff going on, and I would not want to make you be in a room and get all 4 of them at it, because we got 4 now, and we've got Kim, we've got Fritzy, and we've also got Michelle and Cherie. And welcome to the broadcast, Michelle and Cherie. And we got a short segment here. Kim, I know there's ways people can contact you, like through Facebook and others. Real quick, why don't you give that information out so people can get in touch with you?
Okay, for Alabama, we have on Facebook a community group. You can type in Alabama Oil Spill Aftermath Coalition, and our website for our community group is alabamashrimpfestival.com.
Very good. Any other websites people have?
And there's Gulf Change Facebook community group.
Okay. All right. Good deal. All right.
That website's going to be up within the next couple of weeks. It's not up yet.
Okay.
We do have a page on Facebook, though.
Okay. And what is it?
It's under Gulf Change.
Okay. Under Gulf Change. Okay. All right. So website coming. So we'll hit it next month and have it up and ready. Be ready for everybody to look at. That's very cool. Very cool. So, Cherie, real quick, we got about a minute here. Kind of your story, real quick.
My story in a minute? I don't think you could do it.
Okay, but, I was going to challenge you, but
that would be a challenge. Basically, just a mom of 6 kids, wife an oil worker. Found out what was going on firsthand in the Gulf. I'm also a journalist with a small town paper. Did a tour, found out all the crud that's going on down there, and actually, I live in South Louisiana, and just got pissed off, really, and decided this is the line that needs to be drawn in the sand to say that, no more are we going to be a sacrifice zone for the nation as far as energy production. That's one thing. And also that they're going to keep our guys out there on those rigs safe until we can safely get off of oil,
right.
which is the most important thing at this point. I mean, to me, it's like, an addiction that, to me, it's unpatriotic to say that we don't need to get off oil. I mean, that's the first thing that we need to do to take care of ourselves. Just like a heroin addict, the first thing they have to do is stop using heroin. And sometimes they got to go to the methadone clinic and get off of it slowly. But we have got to make that connection and start that turnaround. I have firsthand knowledge, and I've seen some horrible things because of energy production in the United States, and that's where I think one of the places that we have to start, and immediately we have to take care of the people on the Gulf Coast that are continuing to be affected.
Yeah, all right, we're going to take a break here. We'll come back in a short segment. More to come on the program. This is a fascinating subject because, again, when the cameras left, it didn't mean it was all over. I think the story just began at that point. So we'll take a break, come back in a minute with more. Don't go anywhere. We're chatting at MikeChambersLive.com, also Will Spirit Radio, ICNetRadioNetwork.com, and chat rooms all over the world. So hang with us. More right around the corner. There is so many different avenues and roads we could go with the story, and I don't think we'd cover them all. And I think the human story is probably the best route to take here. We were talking about the oil during the break. Did they get that well plugged? I don't know if they did or not. One would think with that pipe twisting around off the Deepwater Horizon in that hole that they had to tear hell out of that hole. And I don't know how much concrete would ever fill that thing back up. To me, who knows? Is there still oil leaking? We know that. The latest excuses is coming out of the Deepwater Horizon itself. And that may be partially true. But they're not going down there giving us bird's eye views anymore of what's going on, because it doesn't make BP look good anymore. Because BP's out, don't want anybody to see what's happening down there. It's secret. Can't tell you. We told you have to kill you. That kind of stuff. But this is just amazing. These stories, you're talking about wanting to get your businesses going again, and you can't, because they basically have killed everything down there, and it's not coming back. Ladies, any comments?
Yep, went to a seminar not too terribly long ago. There were scientists there, with Cherie, as a matter of fact. And they said the only safe seafood is no seafood.
Wow.
And just don't take the chance because of the carcinogenic content and the potential for long-term damage to people. They say don't eat the seafood, or it's their recommendation.
One of the ladies that just came out and... Go ahead. I just want to hear from the lady who closed her business. I'm sorry, trying to connect all these names here, but during the break,
Michelle.
one of you... Okay, Michelle, can you elaborate on that?
Well, we all know April 20th was that horrible day that it happened. I was open until May 28th of 2010, and my business has yet to reopen due to the fact of the uncertainty, the amount of landings that are coming in, because all shrimp, crabs, and finfish landings for Louisiana, I know for sure, are down.
So you have a restaurant?
No, I had a wholesale retail business where I sold live product to restaurants and the community, the public. I was in business for 22 years. Since the BP spill, like I said, May 28th, my doors have been closed, and I have not been able to be reopened since then. I have still not got payment from the GCCF. I was given a $10,000 payment and basically told that was it. They're still... They're going over my stuff. They're reviewing it. It's being processed, and it takes 90 days for it to process. And then at the end of the 90 days, they request more information, and they're still playing that game. I am in financial ruin behind this. So they're not doing what they said they were going to do. They came down here and poisoned our seafood. I live in a community where 60 to 70% of the people that live here all do commercial fishing. This is what we do. You crab, you shrimp, crab, you do that. That is what you do. Everything that they're trying to present on their commercials is false. They have not made our fishing communities whole. They have not proven that the seafood is safe. They have not proven that we're not going to have a fallout. In Alaska, herring and the salmon was their biggest falls that they landed. But no one really brings up the fact that they just had their first shrimping season 2 years ago. They just reopened their shrimping season after all of this time. Herring have, I'm not sure, but I know 24 of the species that disappeared, I think it was, after the poison that was used to hide the oil, just like they did here. Because if they'd have left it on the top, it would have been ugly, but we'd have got it cleaned up instead of using all the poison. Because I think it was out of the 24 species that disappeared, 9 or 10 or 17 of them, I'm not sure, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I know a good percentage of the species have still yet to return. They're not there. They're not going to come back. I don't know, there was a study done right after. I sell mostly crabs. That was my thing. Crabs was what I sold. They found the correxant, tablets of correxant inside the crab larvae early on. So how am I supposed to believe that the crabs are not tainted? Because if the larvae had it in there a year ago, common sense. I'm not a scientist. I don't know, but I know things aren't right. I know things are not what they were before. I know they're not catching anything. This would have been, everything goes in a cycle with the shrimping season, with all seafood. It goes in a cycle. You have good years and you have bad years. These guys were coming up on an awesome year. You could go back 100 years and it'll show what I'm saying. And when the BP oil hit, that killed them. I'm like, Bay Jimmy is not that far from my backyard. I literally have water 70 feet from my house, which is not uncommon around here. Everybody around here does. And this dispersed oil with corrosive mixed in it, we found this in the canals right here in front of our houses. So,
in our dishes.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
We have so many people down here that are having respiratory issues, headaches, the lesions. I myself personally, it's embarrassing to say, but just the truth has to be known. I have boils that have come out all over my body. I'm a 42-year-old girl that does not want to have boils underneath her armpits where she can't even wear a short sleeve shirt, and then be in pain constantly because this. And then I'm told, I did actually have a doctor that told me it's HS, which is an immunity deficiency that you receive after. One of the reasons that you can get this is from toxic exposure. She didn't tell me that's why I have it, but I'm not stupid. I've done nothing different in my life. I'm a person that even bought, when I mop my floor and clean my windows, I use vinegar and baking soda and stuff. I hardly ever buy any kind of harsh chemical to clean in my own house. And I've always been like that. So if that was, there's a lot of people down here with a lot of questions and a lot of health issues, to make it plain and simple. We're not being listened to. They're not paying out any health claims. Feinberg has been presented, the GCCF has been presented with legitimate health claims, and they're turning these people down, and they're not giving them what's rightfully owed back to them, because a lot of people have already put, either us as taxpayers have put out money on these medical expenses, and or private insurance companies, which if you have insurance, it's going to make your insurance go up. They're putting money out on these bills, and they're not being reimbursed for it when it's not our fault that we're experiencing all this illness from all of these different people. When they did the 9/11. All
right, well, stay right there. Stay right there. We're going to take a quick break. Back in the Mike Chambers radio program. We've got such a group of people here. We've got Kim, Fritzy, Michelle, and Cherie joining us along with Karen Quinn Tostado here in the program, and we're talking about this mess that is the aftermath of Maconda, and Maconda still weeps. And matter of fact, I think Maconda just is Pia. She's everywhere. I mean, it's destroying the lives of people down in the South, all across the Gulf Coast. I had a friend of mine on yesterday that comes on with me on a monthly basis, and so, have you eaten any Gulf shrimp? And he says, hell no. He said, if I want shrimp, I'm getting it from Maine. If I want seafood, I'm getting it from Maine. I'm not about to eat any of that down here. He knows better. And just hear what the stories that, I don't know if one of you said that on the air during the break that one of their children were told not to try to have babies because it just wasn't going to happen.
That's so insulting. And so not only did you lose a grandbaby, but we just heard from, was that Shelley?
Cherie?
Or Cherie?
No, it was Fritzy.
Oh, Fritzy.
Fritzy, yeah.
Michelle, and Michelle. Michelle was talking about a girl in South Louisiana from Barataria that had the same problem. But when we went to Washington and met with organizations, we met with a lady from the NIH. And on the coffee break, she and I talked quietly. And after she'd heard the story of my daughter, she told me to go home and tell my daughter and son-in-law to stop trying to have children.
Oh, my God.
Because she had chromosome damage. Now, in that meeting, we discussed the test that they're running on the workers. It's a 10-year study, which means it's going to take 10 years now for them to come out with any results, with any solutions to the problem. So they ran a 10-year study. In 10 years, some of these people are going to be dead.
Yeah.
That's the plan, and it's the hidden technology that is kept from us as well. There really is no need for us to be destroying our planet fracking the water, pulling out the oil, and doing all these things when there is technology that the United States government, that the UN, that these bankers in power are withholding from the people?
Hidden technology. That's exactly right.
Yep. And there's something else with the studies and all that. There are other countries that have already done studies on the corrections dispersant. The 9500, the 9527, they've done the studies already. Are we that arrogant here that we can't take these other countries' studies on face value and take and apply that to what's going on with us now? Because it is banned in like 18 countries, and it's banned in 33 countries where they can't use it 3 miles within shore.
Right.
It's completely banned in 18 countries. So, but the DP was allowed. A big corporation was allowed to put our health and our safety down here on the side so they could be greedy and use a chemical that they were going to make money off of by using anyway. So you see that they won. They came out. They made money. Halliburton made more money off of this cleanup than anybody. We got boys. We're hitting the short end of the stick with our health.
How many?
They used the Corexit in Alaska, but they used Corexit in cold water. They didn't use Corexit in hot, humid areas. Down here, we have 100% humidity. Our water temperature in the summer runs into the 80 and 90 degrees. This stuff was evaporating, and then a nice, beautiful southerly breeze was blowing it all in on top of the population.
Yeah.
How many people are affected, do you think? When you speak of the population, about the numbers, how many people?
Well, if we're talking
we have 2,400 confirmed cases that we can scientifically, medically lead back to the chemicals that they used out in the water. Because, really, it's when the chemical unite with the crude. That's what makes it so toxic. It makes it 8 times more toxic than it would be. So between the lawyers that we've talked to and the nonprofit organizations that have taken surveys like Louisiana Environmental Action Network, Louisiana Bucket Brigade, and others, we know for a fact that there are 2,400 people that have been affected, and I think that's like a drop in the bucket.
How many people live down there, though?
Well, there's millions. There's millions.
Pull up the census for our area. If you pull up the census for our area, that's how many people have been affected. Because everybody that breathes this toxic air, everybody that has it evaporating into their skin, absorbing into this, everybody that's on our census for the Census Bureau is how many people have been affected by this all along the entire coast. And the wind, the breeze, is pushing it all further up inland.
Well, think about this. All that Gulf moisture comes in, interacts with the air that comes over the Rockies. That's where all the thunderstorms and things are created. They go across Oklahoma, Arkansas, all up the East Coast. There's a real likelihood that I would say at least a third to 40% of the country has been affected by this stuff.
That's right.
Yes. That's right. Actually, I wanted to hear that coming from other people besides myself, but that's how I feel. And then when you throw on top of it Fukushima, and you look at the state of our world, it truly is time to unite. It's time to educate ourselves. It's time to prepare ourselves. And it is time to really put some teeth into the strikes. Ladies, every 15th of the month, which is Sunday, we encourage a corporate economic boycott. Don't buy, don't comply, and ask why. Don't buy anything from multinational corporations or anything you do not research for yourself. Don't comply by keeping your money in these institutions that are ripping us off. If you own stock in BP and you're profiting off of this, shame on you. And ask why. Why are we here and what am I doing about it? And cash out those stocks because you're gaining money off the bones and the blood and the destruction of good people in the Gulf.
Exactly. It's blood money. And that's what I told the people in the GCCF office, because I understand that they have to have a job, but what they're helping them do to the people of the community, because this is not anybody's fault that this happened, but yet they're all myself, losing my home, losing
Hey, how much
everything.
time do we have here?
We had about 30 minutes. We had about a minute to the break.
Okay, about 30 minutes left? Okay.
Yeah, and about a minute to the break.
Okay.
Well, our entire economy in Mississippi and South Mississippi on the Gulf Coast is based on tourism, and we're in the aftershock still from Katrina.
Right.
So, yeah, I almost
did not hear that the silver slippers going up for sale because they can't afford to keep it.
Yeah.
I just seen
and
that.
That's incredible to me. My point is that the politicians here aren't really the ones to be held to blame. They really aren't. Some of them are Harrison County supervisors have challenged BP almost at every turn. They really are trying. But because we are a tourist-based economy, everybody's afraid to say too much.
Sure.
We just fold.
Yeah. All right, stay right there. We got to take a break. Final half hour around the corner, and we'll come back and pick this up on the other side of the commercials. Don't go anywhere. It's the Mike Chambers radio program with victims of this mess known as the Deepwater Horizon. And if you tune in late, you're going to certainly get the podcast for it. It'll be almost immediately after the program's over at MikeChambersLive.com and OracleBroadcasting.com. Later on at UnitedWeStrike.com, you can get those. But this conversation continues. We've got Fritzy, we've got Kim, we've got Cherie, we've got Michelle with us, and we're going on here final half hour of the broadcast, and this just seems as if it doesn't end. And not only are you having miscarriages down in the Gulf, but also I would imagine deformities as well.
Oh yeah. I've seen pictures, and I'm sure the other girls can speak about this, but the white shrimp are hatching with no eyes. Mm-hmm. Or one eye. And I've seen pictures of crabs and everything coming over from Louisiana that have their lungs on the outside of them. The respiratory systems are being, formed on the outside of their bodies and not where they're supposed to be. Michelle, you know more about that.
Yeah, they're definitely had a lot of deformities in all the seafood right now. They have the fish with the lesions on them that just, like we were just saying, they just got caught. The crab larvae's been with signs of correction in it from the dispersant that was used. The shrimp, I've seen the pictures, and I've seen personally held in my hand shrimp with no eyes. So I'm not a rocket scientist, but that kind of tells me that something's going on out there that's not supposed to be happening. Because I'm 42 years old, and I've been around shrimp boats since I'm 11, and I have never, ever, ever seen that. Never, ever have I ever seen that. Some people, because it's hard for them to comprehend that, might want to tell you that, that's because the eyes got pulled out in the trawl, and we trawled for so long that they lost their eyes in the trawl. If you want to tell yourself that at night to make yourself feel better, then you can, but that don't make any sense to me because I've been on a boat. I've actually dumped tails myself, and I've never, ever seen that. The fish, the little minnows, the little minnow fish that are all coming out with their deformities where the whole fish is turned around, like you're saying, inside organs are placed on the outside. There really is a lot going on, a lot.
It's an inordinate amount of deformities, and not to mention all the miscarried dolphins. And dolphins are like the next step down to humans. They're almost our canary in the mine, and they're having these problems, and now people seem to be having these problems. I'm aware of several babies that have just been born over the past, 6, 8, 10 months that are born with respiratory issues, heart conditions, things like that. An inordinate amount of them. None of them, of course, associated with the environment whatsoever. When my daughter had her miscarriage, she told me that her OBGYN told her that she'd never seen so many miscarriages over such a short period of time and in such a small area.
But not connecting the dots. And that's just unconscionable. Now, ladies, we want to hear you just as clearly as possible. So while we've got you on the phone, please try and remain still. If you are on a speakerphone, do us a favor and take the speakerphone off, and we'll see if we can cut back on a little bit of this background noise because it seems like there's some moving or fidgeting, and your words are important here. And I didn't mean everybody just to totally be quiet. We got to keep the conversation going.
Well, you said sit still. I'm still. I'm not moving a bit. Right here, not moving.
I wanted to mention something day before yesterday in the Mobile Press Register. And people can go online and look up the Mobile Press Register. Ben Raines has been a reporter and doing quite a bit of work on the Gulf. And he went out to Dauphin Island, and he fished, and he caught 20 fish. And out of the 20 fish, 14 of them had these great big lesions that everybody's describing. And the really, really ironic thing about this is that many of us are suffering with the same type of skin lesions. Personally, I have them on my legs from the knees down where I walked on the beach. And these fish have very similar lesions. And, you know, as everybody's saying, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. If it's happening to the animals, if it's happening to the mammals, it's going to happen to us.
Most definitely.
And yeah, you know, I also want to put in here, we were going to be listening to some of the children who it's happening to, the real victims, but unfortunately due to the time constraints and the holidays, we're not able to bring them to you this time, but we will be bringing you the true victims here. Not to say that you ladies are not, and all the people there, but the children. We are destroying their future. We are making them sick while turning a blind eye to their pleas and obeying, honoring, and paying the criminals in power who are causing this and ignoring it while they turn around to cause more destruction in other countries to other people's future, including the depleted uranium in Iraq, and now they're looking at Iran, and it's time to unite and say no more.
Well, and I look at this long term too. I mean, you look at from what I've understood, a lot of this is a family type business. The shrimping and other business, a family type affair, and generational. And this is being destroyed. And all you're going to do, and where families have been tight knit for generations, they're going to be cast all over the country. And so you're breaking up those histories, and those traditions, and those things that these families hold important. That's almost even worse than tearing the livelihood apart.
Right.
Oh yeah, because it's definitely it's not just a way of living. It is exactly what you're saying. When you're, when you 12, 13, like I was 11, but most of the time when the boys are 12, 13 years old, they go on the boats, and that's what they're trained to do. Like, that's what they want to do. Not all of them, but a lot of them, the majority, I'd say about 80%, follow in their parents' footsteps. And
that's right, it's a rite of passage.
Right. And then when you're a senior in school, you're buying your own car because you done worked all of these years and saved your money.
Right.
And if and then you work a couple more years, and then you buy a boat, and you got your own boat, and you're working and making your own family. It makes me emotional when I talk about it because we're losing it. Like in the last year, a lot of these guys, they tied their boats up. They went and did something else, and once they go do something else, it doesn't matter. They need to do something else because now it's been taken from us.
Right.
The choice that they did have is not there anymore because it's only going to, I feel, my opinion, is it's only going to get worse. We're just starting to see the effect on our seafood and our health, and it's just going to get worse.
The scientists that gave this little talk the other day said that the oysters, it may be 5 years before we get oysters again. It may be 30 years before we get oysters again. We may never get oysters again.
Wow.
Not necessarily just from the oil, but most certainly, from the Corexit. Because it sank it to the bottom, and it prevented the little hatchlings from attaching to the shells because they're slick now, and they won't attach. And so we've lost an entire species.
When you think also, or when you realize that the United Nations publicly talks about overpopulation and depopulating, and when you look at the planet and you understand that we are not overpopulated, we are mismanaged, and we are crowded into cities, but there is plenty of land around, and you understand that they only want like 500 million or 1 billion people on the planet. They've just taken out a huge chunk of the food supply, and they're poisoning the people, which also gives the pharmaceutical companies free rein to say, oh, take this chemical and this chemical, when what we need are true solutions. And this also is a call. Anyone listening here, we need environmental help down there. We need some guidance down there. We need ways to help these people, and these doctors who refuse to connect the dots need to get out of business or grow some courage.
Yeah, final segment around the corner here. This is, like I said, if you come into this late, you need to get a hold of the podcast and listen again. And if you've been here all along, get the podcast and share it with friends and people you know as to what's really going on. This is your government in action, or lack of action. And so stay with us. More to come. This is the Mike Chambers radio program on the United We Strike Marathon. Final segment in about 4 minutes.
Okay.
All right, final few minutes here, the Mike Chambers radio program. And this has been such an interesting conversation, and I wish we could continue, but we've got just a few minutes here to finish along. And we were talking during the break about the fact that basically in the end, some of you feel that this is really all about a push to get you guys off the Gulf and basically turn this into a UN protected area where nobody's down there.
Yeah. It appears that they're trying to render the Gulf useless for anything but energy exploration, whether it be growing algae, whether it just open the Gulf wide open to drilling for whatever purpose. If one storm comes in and blows that stuff onto the land, we're going to be a biohazard area. They're going to be shipping us never to return. Never to return. And I don't think I have salt water in my veins. I don't think I could live anywhere but here. I mean, that's why I've stuck it out. Everybody's had an opportunity to just pack and go, but who wants to? This is where my parents, their parents before them, my kids have been raised. I don't want to leave here.
It's your home, and there's no reason why the government and a big corporation should poison your world, take away your business, take away your health, deprive you of the benefits, deprive you of them being accountable, kick you to the curb and forget about you. In this country, in America, it is time, folks, to wake up and wake up now.
Yeah.
Because it's happening to all of us. I mean, tomorrow could be, it could be anywhere. It could be literally anywhere in America. And you're right. We're damn lucky we didn't have a huge hurricane come rolling through the Gulf this year.
I know.
Oh, but it's going to happen.
It's going
to happen.
Yeah.
And NOAA just came out here last week and said that only 15% of the oil came on shore. Only 15%.
Well, yeah, it's all,
so
the rest of it's underwater. Let a good F3, F4, hurricane, level 4 or 5 hurricane come rolling through there, churn that water up and start throwing it everywhere and see how much oil there is.
Well, it's going to be a complete disaster, and they're already wanting to try to do early restoration when the stuff isn't even cleaned up.
No,
exactly. The government too, and I heard this lately. The government, and I hadn't heard it before, is buying up property along the coast to return it to its natural habitat.
Yeah,
they've had 75. They've had 75 people sell out to the government at market value.
Well, and
they've gotten their money, and they're returning it to its natural state.
And watch what will happen. Those that will not sell, they'll end up losing their property through eminent domain.
I have no doubt. Yeah. Eventually, in the long run. Yeah. Right now, they're trying to do it right.
Sure. Yeah, but when somebody gives them some guff, they'll bring about eminent domain and say, "I'm sorry, you got to go."
And remember, ladies, too, now when we're fighting back, the 15th is Sunday, but the 15th of every month, spread this word. Let's really build this corporate economic boycott, because we can have teeth. And the more of us who understand what's going on, the more we can back it up.
Absolutely.
Well, that's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons why I'm involved with the Occupy movement, because that's the only real solution I see is.
That's us. We're working on another solution where you don't have to get in the streets and get beaten up. You take local action. Educate yourself, prepare, and take local action so that we don't need to be putting up with these policemen who are so misguided.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that there's all kinds of ways to go about it. And,
True.
I just feel like, the movement that I'm with is pretty effective. I mean, as far as what we do down here. And So, we are pushing in that direction because we do have to stop these corporate criminals. I mean,
and we're very well organized. We're a very well-oiled machine, even though there are many, many of us, and from all the different Gulf states, we're all on the same page, which makes us a force to be reckoned with.
Right.
Our webpage, our Mississippi webpage on Facebook is Mississippi Oil Spill and Aftermath Coalition. So if anybody's interested in participating or just learning, they can ask to join our Facebook page, and they will certainly be obliged. We are grateful to you all for this opportunity, very much, to get the word out, because there's so few people that do this for us.
We're grateful, and we just want to also warn you, ladies, if you do take donations or anything, have them send checks, because we had Michael Bodnarik on earlier, and he and Sheriff Mack were having donations through PayPal, and there's $40,000 now that they cannot access. So don't use PayPal.
Wow.
Really?
That's
yes.
terrible.
Yes. So this is all part of it, So we've got to understand we have power, and I'm going to close my PayPal account. Things might be take a little longer to order, but I'm going to be writing checks from a local bank and making sure that my money doesn't help these guys.
Absolutely.
No
Absolutely.
way. I'm canceling mine too.
There you go. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
And ladies, thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate this. And like I told you in the last break, anytime you want to come back, I don't care. You just let me know, and you guys are all welcome on the program anytime.
Thanks.
Well, you're great, Mike. Thank you so much for having us.
It was my pleasure. Yeah, go ahead.
Can we ask, too, really quickly, that we have a petition on CARE 2 that's asking for a congressional hearing with regards to the health impacts of the spill up there in D.C. as quickly as possible, so that we can get some movement on the ground, hopefully, and get some help for the people, especially the children that are ill. If they go to CARE 2 and put in Gulf oil spill, it'll come up. And also that Representative Congressman Gerald Nadler has introduced an anti-disbursement bill. And if we could get people to support that, I'm sorry I don't have the number, but if you go to Gulf Change or any of the websites that we've mentioned, that information is on there, because we really have to support that. We don't know what those disbursements do. We do know that there's a large degree of people that are sick after the spill and since the spill, and we do know that it's illegal in other countries. And most importantly, we do know that this will affect generations of Gulf Coast people and perhaps people across the United States, because there's spills everywhere in the very near now and in the future if we don't get it stopped.
Indeed. Thanks again for coming on the program. I just greatly appreciate all your efforts and the fact that you're stick-to-itiveness and that you're just trying to protect what's yours and protect a way of life that you guys have been a part of, for generations. And
it's yours too.
Yeah, well,
it's yours and everybody in America's too.
Well, because I've got some fond memories standing down there on a levee chucking rocks at barges. I spent Christmases down there and some summers down there with an aunt, and I remember a couple of Christmases. It's so damn hot down there. I was sweating like a stuck hog, thinking this can't be Christmas. But But that's just how it is. That's Louisiana, That's just the way it is. Yeah, but thanks again. But thanks again for coming on and being a part of the program. And I look forward to talking with you in the future, and more conversation. At least once a month, I know we'll be doing it. So thanks again.
We appreciate you, Mike.
Thank you. And we're out of time for this program. Wow, this has gone by. This has been a great 4 hours. Karen, thanks for being with me the entire time.
My pleasure.
And that's